What is going on, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer live on the Blue and Gold YouTube channel. Moments after elite class of 2027 quarterback Teddy Jarrard has announced his commitment to the Fighting Irish, the number 52 overall player and number 2 quarterback according to Rivals' own rankings. 24/7 has him listed as a 3-star, ESPN a 4-star, and number 15 quarterback in the country. So that brings down his industry ranking a little bit, with each of them being equally weighed for the industry ranking. But again, big stock up prospect by Rivals, who had him as number, I believe, 7 quarterback going into the summer, and now the number 2 passer in the country. Folks, please hit the thumbs up on this video. I know you're fired up about this commitment, so hit the thumbs up on this video. Make sure you watch my video with Tim Hyde, where we broke down this commitment after you're done watching this show. We got a great cast of characters on this show. I don't know if you guys noticed, but the Blue and Gold family did expand. We got Eric Hansen, a veteran Notre Dame sports writer and Hall of Famer. Is that correct, Eric? I remember seeing that not too long ago.
That's true. Indiana Sports Writers and Sportscasters Hall of Fame. So I guess if you stick around long enough, they'll put anybody in there.
And Tyler James, who's been on the beat for 15 years. Super happy to have both Eric and Tyler. And of course, Kyle Kelly, our Blue and Gold beat writer, recruiting beat writer with me. Tyler, Kyle, you guys doing well?
I'd say so. Good day for the Notre Dame football program, landing one of the top recruits in the 27th cycle. And I can confirm there is a lot of momentum in South Bend.
Tyler, I got you muted, brother.
Can you hear me?
Yep, all good.
I just need to start applying for more Hall of Fames, but I'm fired up and ready to get things rolling.
Tyler, this is your Blue and Gold YouTube channel debut, so welcome. Again, very happy to have you with us. So we're going to do things a little interesting today. It's going to be like a kind of a panel discussion. You're going to have each guy pop in and out as the show rolls on, but I'm going to start with Kyle Kelly. We won't have a recruiting show tomorrow, by the way, folks. I am on vacation right now, but you get one quarterback commitment a year, so my wife understood. So let's talk about Teddy Jarrard. Kyle, I mean, dude, when Notre Dame was that, we haven't really researched it. We're just assuming that Notre Dame was the last school in the country to offer a quarterback in the 2027 class. And there's a lot of, whether it's media, let's be honest, I'm sitting here at Pot of Gold Day like, really? No quarterback offers? And then in April, no quarterback offers? Really? In May, no quarterback offers? Really? June 21st comes around, and then the next morning, Teddy Jarrard and Peyton Houston announced their offers from the Fighting Irish. Notre Dame really taking their time. So you have fans criticizing this, for sure, media asking questions about it. But tip of the cap to Gino Guidugli. I mean, he offered 2 guys, and he got his guy in Teddy Jarrard from North Cobb in Kennesaw, Georgia. What's your reaction, Kyle?
I got to ask, did you read my 5 thoughts column before coming on here? I know you're on vacation, so I'm not sure how plugged in you've been.
I skimmed it.
Okay.
I gave it a skim. It looked good.
Because you gave me a great lead-in to the story I posted on Blue and Gold at the time of Teddy Jarrard's announcement, and it really was kind of breaking down how this unfolded with the late quarterback offers. Notre Dame made it to the college football playoff. That pretty much delayed the scouting process for 2027 quarterbacks. I know in talking to multiple people in South Bend, that coaching staff was extremely invested during the college football playoff. That's not to say recruiting was taking a back seat, but a lot of the more behind the scenes people in South Bend, like your personnel people, recruiting department, they were the ones focused on recruiting during Notre Dame's playoff run last January. And by the time that playoff run ended, you only had about a week or two to go visit prospects at their high schools, that being the coaching staff. And Notre Dame was a little bit late to get out there. Quarterbacks coach Gino Guidugli, I think he saw a couple guys late in January. But Notre Dame really waited until the spring to get in-person evaluation on a lot of these guys. And I think that's what really kind of delayed the process, because by the time Pot of Gold Day came around, which is Notre Dame's major recruiting event for high school sophomores. That's when they unveil their recruiting board. In years past, we've always seen about 5 to 7 quarterbacks offered. They didn't do that this year because of the lack of evaluations, in-person evaluations, that is. So the springtime is really when Gino Guidugli and the coaching staff hit the road pretty hard to go see a lot of 2027 quarterbacks. And I did a little bit of research, just kind of – I didn't dive too deep on it, but just from looking it up, I counted that 18 nationally ranked signal callers have been evaluated by Gino Guidugli in person. So at least 18. 18 is the number that I counted. So that is whether Guidugli went out to their school to see them throw in the spring, whether those guys have been to South Bend to work out and train with Guidugli at a camp, or maybe even both. So even though Notre Dame only ended up offering 2 quarterbacks in the 2027 cycle, and that it was probably one of the more delayed processes that we've seen, it's certainly in my time covering Notre Dame football recruiting, which has just been in the Marcus Freeman era. But even though it was delayed, I think it was by far the most exhaustive.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were reporting on Coaches in the Road in the spring, every single day we were writing about at least 2 or 3 quarterbacks that Gino Guidugli was out seeing. Yeah. He was hitting these quarterbacks in all different parts of the country, the South, California, guys from Chicagoland. It was exhaustive. And it wasn't just Gino Guidugli. Mike Denbrock, I believe, has seen a couple guys. Mike Denbrock's counterpart, Harris Biven, saw a couple of quarterbacks on the road in the spring. So
probably even Sider. I bet Sider even did too in Florida.
Certainly. So it was a very exhaustive process. And my final thought on this, Mike, is it says a lot about Teddy Jarrard that he was the one to emerge. Notre Dame also offered Peyton Houston. Kind of felt like that one was a long shot. Maybe Notre Dame was a little bit behind there. Teddy Jarrard seemed like the guy that, they really prioritize, especially after his performance at the Rivals 5-star camp in Indianapolis, which the scouting team here at Rivals has, raved about so extensively. So the fact that when you do include Jarrard in Houston, the fact that Guidugli scouted in-person evaluation, so through that 20 guys threw in front of Guidugli and that Jarrard emerged as a top target, I think that says a lot about how Guidugli and the Notre Dame coaching staff feels about their newest commit.
So much here to unpack, Kyle. Great stuff. First thing is just from Guidugli pretty much said, I don't care what you guys say about me taking my time and whatnot. I am going to every recruit, whether it was like a 3-star kid with a Arkansas, an FAU offer, or to the top, to a 5-star. He went and saw that Elijah Haven kid in Louisiana. He saw everyone, all these top quarterbacks, right? And he told them, this is my process. This is just what it is. I'm not I'm going to offer when I'm ready. And I thought it was going to be in April. And it wasn't. I thought it was going to be in May. After the eval period, they came off through. Nope. He wanted to see more quarterbacks in June. And so, hats off to Guidugli and how he communicated with all these quarterbacks, the belief in himself not to rush any offers before he was ready. And then getting Teddy. His uncle played at Georgia. Ohio State, the national champs after him. Michigan, Notre Dame shoved them in a locker yet again, as well as Penn State. The recruiting win of this is excellent. And of course, the prospect himself is outstanding. We'll go to Tyler James in a minute. Tyler got to see Teddy at the Rivals 5-Star Challenge at the end of June. But any other thoughts before we get you out of here, Kyle?
No, that was my big one, is just how extensive this process is. And I mean, the other thing that I'm thinking about when it comes to this commitment, and it's something I joke about a lot on the Loose Emoji message board, is about the momentum that this is going to bring for Notre Dame. I mean, they already have it in the 2026 class. That class is just about wrapped up. There are a couple targets left on the board. Some have the chance to emerge in the fall, but I can tell you one thing. I know 2027 class recruits are going to take notice of this. And our Steve Wiltfong, Rivals Vice President of Recruiting, posted an intel piece on Blue and Gold with some details there. But I think this is the hot start Notre Dame was looking for in 2027. And we might be looking at, with Jarrard leading the charge, two of the best back-to-back recruiting classes in the Rivals recruiting era.
Kyle, appreciate you. You can probably pop off. I don't know if we'll go back to you, but you're welcome to hang out. We may. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where we go from here. But I can tell you, folks, that we're going to go ahead and hear from Augie's Locker Room, the destination for Notre Dame fans looking for unique memorabilia, one-of-a-kind stuff. So head to augieslockerroom.com. You can learn about Augie's story. You can contact him there. You can scroll through the main page. But the online store, it's simply fantastic. Like I said, unique, one-of-a-kind items. You're only going to find this at Augie's Locker Room, which is located at 1733 North Ironwood Drive in South Bend. It is just down the street from South Bend. If you're local, you're in town for an event, you're like, whatever the case is, if you're in South Bend, you need to make time for Augie's Locker Room to check out all the unique pieces that they have. So head to Augie's Locker Room, 1733 North Ironwood Drive. If you're looking for something specific, maybe Augie doesn't have it, he's going to go find it for you. So check it out, augieslockerroom.com. Chad Simmons from Rivals, heard from Chad on the Rivals YouTube channel when Teddy announced his decision. And Chad went to go see Teddy yesterday and posted a video about 2 minutes here with Teddy talking about his decision to pick the Fighting Irish. So let's hear from Teddy Jarrard.
Teddy Jarrard, quarterback from Kennesaw, Georgia, class of 2027, and I play quarterback at North Cobb High School. I'll be taking my talents to Notre Dame. I had over 30 offers. I chose Notre Dame over Georgia, Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. I chose Notre Dame because of the culture there. People just from all around love it. And Coach Freeman has really built a great program there over the years. And I think he's building something special that I want to be a part of. And also, Coach Gino has been great to me at the quarterback position. I think he's developing quarterbacks in a great way. So, and also, the final part is out of any school, Notre Dame has shown the most love and support for my journey, and I think that means a lot to me and my family. The culture at Notre Dame is different than any other school. The fans really rally around the players, and when I was up there, you could really feel the difference. Coaches at Notre Dame have been a great part of my journey, and I think Coach Gino has been great to me. And when he came and saw me in spring practice, I could just feel his energy, and it just felt special. And then Coach Denbrock as well. He has a great resume with quarterbacks and developing offenses and being successful. So I think that's another big thing. And then Coach Freeman, finally, he really pours into his players and has passion for his team, and really loves everybody differently than some head coaches and other programs. I think that's a big thing when it comes to me and my commitment. As a player, they're getting a quarterback who is trying to be a perfectionist. Is trying to perfect his craft every day, and day in and day out. Is always going to outwork everybody, and is really coming in to set the tone and look for just get better every day. Honestly, that's the end goal, and as long as we're doing that, I think I'm doing something right. And I think that's all I got. Go Irish.
I think it's a great comment here from Edward. The fact that Ohio State had a 27 quarterback committed still went after this kid despite that tells you how good they think Teddy Jarrard is. And yeah, someone who saw him recently was Tyler James, who published a film study when Jarrard announced his commitment. So let's pop on that film. Tell us what you see on the tape, Tyler, and then, what your in-person evaluation of Teddy was at that Rivals 5-Star Challenge in June.
Yeah, it was definitely grateful and neat to get an opportunity to watch him at the Rivals 5-Star. There's no other event like that where we get I'm just walking behind him, filming him. Like we're right there seeing what he's thinking and all those things. So a cool experience. And he really excelled in that event. And in a lot of the ways that you see him having success on the field last season, he has the ability to put pace on the ball when he needs to, and put a ball in a tight window, but he also throws with great touch. You'll see some of the fade balls he throws down the sidelines that are just like no one besides his receiver can make a play on the ball. So I think he's very advanced in his ability to put the ball where he wants to. He won the accuracy competition at the Rivals 5-star. He threw the ball into small holes in a net a couple times when some guys weren't able to do it once. He did it twice. So I think there's a lot to like in Teddy Jarrard's film. And he just has like a poise about him, stands tall in the pocket. I think he throws really well on the run. He's not necessarily a dual threat quarterback. I don't think you describe him that way, but he can use his legs. But yeah, he's not afraid to get out of the pocket and make something happen, look downfield. A lot to like about what Teddy Jarrard has done so far in his high school career.
Yeah, Tyler, it's interesting because from my understanding, Notre Dame really wanted a guy who could move, maybe not necessarily a dual threat, like a read option type, right? Like that, maybe not that, but getting someone who can really extend plays with his legs was an important part for Guidugli in this 27 cycle. And like Teddy and Peyton Houston, I feel like are completely different quarterbacks, but those were the two that Gino offered. And yeah, to me, like this early part of the tape is Teddy in the pocket, but then you get to him moving around. Like he's kind of like this modern guy, like a modern quarterback who can do it all. I think I'll give some thoughts on quarterback comps. I don't like doing comps, but it's fun. But you kind of agree with me here. Like, yeah, he's not like a dual threat. Like he doesn't have that tag, but he definitely moves, can pick up yards, and yeah, gets outside the pocket, extend plays, all those good things.
Yeah, and you like the way he keeps his eyes downfield when he's extending those plays. Like he's not just leaving the pocket to try to gain yards with his legs. He's looking to see if he can find someone downfield, and you can see many instances here with him doing that. But then he'll also keep it and run, and has decent enough speed to get around the edge like he did right there, to pick up a first down, make some plays with his feet. So yeah, I mean, him and Peyton Houston are definitely different. Peyton Houston is much more electric in terms of his ability to run and make things happen. A shorter quarterback too, Peyton Houston is. Teddy Jarrard has a bigger frame that I think Notre Dame fans have sort of grown tired of shorter quarterbacks over the recent years. And this isn't a concern there with Teddy Jarrard. But yeah, he is capable of doing stuff with his legs. I mean, not to compare him and CJ Carr as players necessarily, but I think CJ Carr is somewhat similar in the fact that CJ Carr is not necessarily a dual threat quarterback either, but he's not, he isn't stuck in the pocket. He's able to make plays happen and keeps his eyes downfield to make those throws. And that's something I think we'll see from him this coming season.
Tyler, I feel like every time we post on the Blue and Gold message board about him, there's always a response. Well, give me a player comparison. Like just compare. CJ, there is very similar styles to the game where mentally, I think both are like advanced with their quarterback minds, right? Just knowing offenses. And yeah, Teddy can dice you up in the pocket, and then he has that escapability, keep your eyes downfield, like you mentioned. So that was a name that came to my mind. And Tim Hyde, in a video that you can find at Blue and Gold, posted the second that Teddy announced. And this is not, I think he's as good as this NFL quarterback right now, guys. It's not that. It's more of like play style comparisons. He said a shorter Trevor Lawrence and like the escapability and what he does outside the pocket kind of gives him like Baker Mayfield vibes. And I was like, it's interesting because Baker Mayfield does a lot with his legs, but he's not an elite athlete or anything like that. So what's your initial reaction when you hear that, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, obviously high praise. I think that's the trouble with like making player comps is that when you say something, someone's going to have a very strong opinion about that player that you compare them to. So yeah, if you compare them to those guys, I think that's good. I mean, I see what Tim is talking about there. Like you talk about the pieces of their game in terms of being able to make all the throws, make some plays with his legs, be able to scramble. I don't know if if he's wired like Baker Mayfield is an interesting guy and
complete opposites personality wise. That's for sure.
So we'll see if Teddy Jarrard develops into a Baker Mayfield type player that way. But I think I see what Tim's talking about there, and a lot to like with what he does. And I mean, we're talking about a guy who's we're looking at sophomore film here. Like this is a guy that's got 2 more years of high school ahead of him, and a lot of ways that he can develop. I mean, one thing that I identified as something that he does a lot is he's throwing to first reads a lot. Obviously, those plays where he's scrambling, he's not necessarily making first reads, but I think there's probably more he can do in his game in terms of looking off safeties or finding different guys that are open. I think he has such great arm talent right now that if he knows like, hey, we're going to have a chance here, he can make the throw and make it happen. And I think obviously as the competition improves, he'll have to develop in those ways, but he's got plenty of time to do that. Like we said, with the 2 years of high school football left.
Yeah. Tyler, you heard me and Kyle talking about the recruiting win. Anything that, you wanted to react to that we said, or any other thoughts on like just how huge of a recruiting win this is for Notre Dame? Landing up on the screen here, I have the top 5 quarterbacks in the country in the 27 cycle, according to Rivals rankings. Jarrard number 2 in the nation. Irish going into the South and landing this talent.
Yeah, you guys mentioned the timing of his offer, and I did try to pour through the Rivals database when he was offered, and it looked to me that Stanford was the only other Power 4 school that had not offered a quarterback at that point. There was a kid listed as a quarterback on some sites as a quarterback, but I think he was offered as a running back.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's how late we're talking about in terms of Notre Dame finding an offer. But I think I know we were dealing with a lot of subscribers that were frustrated early in the process, like, hey, why is Notre Dame not offering anybody? And it seems like it's worked out, right? Like if you were concerned, I think that concern has been relieved now. Notre Dame got who it wanted and stuck to its process, and certainly didn't hurt Notre Dame's efforts in trying to get Teddy Jarrard in his class.
Tyler, great analysis. Appreciate you popping on. We're bringing in Eric Hansen, that Hall of Fame sports writer. Eric, I mean, I know you heard me talk about Notre Dame's quarterback recruiting run under Marcus Freeman with, Minchie, Carr, Hebert, Noah Grubbs, and now Teddy Jarrard. You've been covering Notre Dame for decades now. On paper, stacking this many blue chips back to back, whatever it is, like this has got to be as best as as good as it's been in a while, right?
In a while, for sure. I was talking with Tom Lemming from the Prep Football Report yesterday, and we were going over it. And Charlie Weiss did have a run, and that's the one little spot that you can think about. And this is right at the beginning of the Rivals era.
Right.
Charlie's first class was Evan Sharpley. That was kind of the combined Ty Willingham Charlie class. And then he had two really good 4-star quarterbacks in 06 with Zach Frazier and Demetrius Jones. Neither of them, Zach Frazier ended up going to UConn and beating Notre Dame. Demetrius kind of got lost, but he was a guy that was ranked just behind Tim Tebow as far as dual threat quarterbacks in that class. And then in 07, you had Jimmy Clausen, the number 1 overall player. 2008, you had 5-star Dane Christ, whose career was kind of derailed by some leg injuries. But that little run right there, and then you have a class in 09 where you didn't take a quarterback, and then you get into the Brian Kelly era where it was very uneven. So it's been a long time. And really, if you go before Charlie, it's hard to find stacked quarterbacks like that. You have, the Rick Meyer here and there, Tony Rice, but not year after year of excellence.
What was your reaction to this recruiting win for the Irish, Eric?
I think it's amazing, in part because I really like Gino's process, and I agree with Kyle Kelly in terms of how thorough Gino is. You hear from other coaches and you hear from people in the industry about that when he gets a tip, he doesn't just dismiss it. He goes out and looks at players, and that's really impressive. The fact that they've gotten this commitment so early, you think about how Jarrard can help build the 2027 class, how important that's going to be to keeping the momentum going with the 2027 wide receivers after this 5 wide receiver haul in 2026. There's just a lot of positives right now with quarterback recruiting. And the other thing you think about is the reputation of Gino developing quarterbacks, that's really getting out there. And Mike Denbrock being the play caller with that, that's a huge positive. And I'm sure they're going to start browsing 2028 soon.
Oh, I got that article already on the mind. Maybe after I come back from vacation, but
Lemming even gave me a 29 guy to look at, Ty Snell from Allen, Texas.
Of course, Lemming did. Yeah, I mean, Eric, again, from every standpoint, the recruiting win, who you beat out, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, checks the box. The ranking side, you know, if you just want to use 24/7 or you just want to use the industry or just want to use ESPN, you know, maybe not. But the Rivals ranking alone checks that rankings box, right? Very highly ranked. You heard Charles Power talk about him after Teddy announced. You can read at blueandgold.com with Charles and Cody Belair, both the Rivals national scouts, talking about him. Check. I mean this kid is electric. The in-person evaluations, the film, but between the years. Again, Eric, if you're a Notre Dame fan, you have to be over the moon right now. It's 2027. It's a ways to go, but this kid, I expect to be fully locked in. He's going to recruit, like you mentioned. It's going to be big for 2027 wide receiver prospects. Kyle Kelly told me that he was planning on doing an article and getting some reaction from some of these receivers. I'm sure they're amped up. It's just, all around a great day to be an Irish fan, Eric.
Absolutely. And the thing I like about Teddy too is it feels like he's an ascending player, that he's just going to continue to get better, that he hasn't topped out. When Tom Lemming saw him in January, he had 3 offers. He had Boston College, Illinois, and I believe Virginia Tech was the other. So he's blowing up. He's blowing up the lists.
Yeah, it's a great point, Eric, because he got most of these big offers in May and June. When May, you have the spring eval period. In June, you have the camps and whatnot. Because Teddy visited Notre Dame at the beginning of June, and then he threw for the staff. He had already thrown for Gino in May when Gino went to see him at spring practice, and then he got to throw in front of Denbrock. And so that's a good thing. It's like, all right, we see you. We want to offer you, I think it was Florida State, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, like all these schools offering in one of those 2 months. And then Charles Power and Cody Belair get to see him in June. The ascending thing is a great point, and he's just going into his junior year. So that being like Drew Pine, not to I love Drew, not to dog on Drew, but
right.
He was maybe the opposite, where he started off so hot early on as a prospect, like his 9th grade year, he lit it up and was already getting all these national offers from Saban at Alabama and just big time, right? And then kind of as his time went on, it was the downward trend. Yeah, Teddy seems to be the exact opposite. So
couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, Eric, before we let you go?
I just think it's going to be really interesting to see what Notre Dame can do with that 2027 class now that they've pretty close to finishing 2026, and what wide receiver recruiting is going to look like in tandem with this Jarrard.
All right, great stuff, Eric. Appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you.
All right, I see Kyle Kelly's still here. Kyle, do you have anything you wanted to add backstage? I see you. Give me a nod. Yeah? All right. What's up, Kyle? What's on your mind? You're muted, brother. This is the first time on
Sorry
YouTube,
about that. You know me, man. I was clicking away in the background as you guys were talking, and great thoughts by both Eric and Tyler there. I mean, those guys have covered Notre Dame, I think, longer than both of us combined, especially Eric. He's got us by about 3-4 times that.
And double, yes.
Yes.
At least, or maybe triple.
Yeah, so definitely appreciate their insight. And I think Eric's last thought about wide receiver recruiting is pretty interesting because, I can't remember if I ended up framing it this way in my story. I know I drafted it this way, but I called it, we potentially might see a Notre Dame wide receiver recruiting renaissance.
Ooh, kind of like the DBs under Mike Mickens early on. Yeah.
I mean, it's too early to tell, but I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. Wide receiver production under Marcus Freeman has been poor. There have not been a lot of big time receivers or statistical production. Jaden Greathouse came on last year during the college football playoff, but beyond that, I don't even know if guys really exceeded 500 yards receiving. So that's been a big indictment on Notre Dame. Pretty easy for schools to negatively recruit against the Irish. Notre Dame has cycled through a bunch of wide receiver coaches. I think they got one they really like now in Mike Brown. Marcus Freeman has, just like with all the rest of his assistants, deep ties to Brown. Has coached with him for a while. And when Brown came to South Bend, I don't know if we necessarily pegged him as like this, big personality on the recruiting trail that was just going to, win Notre Dame all these national recruiting national recruiting battles. And let's be honest, Mike Brown kind of had to take his lumps in the 25 cycle with a lot of the wide receivers that Notre Dame missed on. But in 2026, he responds by getting Caden Finley, who is, Notre Dame's top target in the class, NFL legacy, Texas legacy, son of, Jermichael Finley, former Green Bay Packers tight end, another NFL legacy recruit in Devin Fitzgerald. That was a recruitment that I really love to follow, because a year ago at this time, Devin Fitzgerald wasn't even ranked by the recruiting services. He had a couple, I think, just random throw-me offers because he was the son of Larry Fitzgerald, but he wasn't really recognized as a true recruit. But Brown stuck with him from last June to this June, continued scouting him, saw him multiple times in person, offered him in May, got his commitment on July 5th. So those are the two headliners in Notre Dame's class. A guy we don't talk about enough, Bubba Frazier from Georgia, one of the fastest receivers you'll find in the 26 cycle.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's trying to add speed. They got him out of Georgia, one of the fastest recruits in the entire class. Another one of the fastest recruits in the 26 cycle is Braden Robinson out of Texas. He was a 10.5 100-meter guy, which is absolutely blazing. And they also have Dylan Faison, who is also pretty overlooked as well, because he was Notre Dame's first commit in the 26 cycle. Notre Dame was his only offer before Miami offered him this June, and he's the younger brother of Jordan Faison. Yeah. So I think a lot of people overlook him because of that and his ranking. But Mike, just as well as I do that in talking to the Notre Dame staff over the last year, they love Dylan Faison. They think that guy has the potential to be better than Jordan. So that's Notre Dame's 5-man recruiting haul in the 26 cycle. And now you're seeing a completely different offense potentially this year under Mike Denbrock than what we've seen in years past. I think they're going to start to open it up. I think they're going to throw the ball a lot more, especially if CJ Carr becomes a starting quarterback. And when you do that, you are going to get those wide receivers much better stats than what they've had in the past. And I know I'm rambling, but I'll just close my thought this way, that when we look at the 25 season in Notre Dame's wide receivers, we've heard behind the scenes, or not necessarily us, but more so Eric Hansen, that Malachi Fields, Notre Dame's transfer from Virginia, he's drawing comparisons to Michael Floyd. Jaden Greathouse, he put it on display nationally in the college football playoff last year. He's really emerged, had a great spring. I think we expect him to become a big-time piece in Notre Dame's passing game this season. Bring in Will Pauling, who Mike Brown has a long history with from Wisconsin, into the fold. And you got a bunch of other young guys. So I've always been really pessimistic about Notre Dame wide receivers, especially because of what I've seen under Marcus Freeman. And my whole stance is I'm done buying in. You got to show me. Don't tell me anymore. You got to show me. And I still believe that. But if Notre Dame, flips the switch this year with wide receiver production, brings in those 5 guys in the 26 cycle, and if we see this wide receiver recruiting this wide receiver renaissance, it's going to translate over to recruiting, especially when you have the number 2 quarterback now on your commit list in the 27 cycle. So,
which is, that thought is kind of where that what you just closed with is why we got on wide receiver recruiting, right? It's like Teddy commits, and I mean Notre Dame may have already been tracking to being able to have a pretty darn good 27 group. It's very early for wide receivers. Like tight ends and offensive linemen and quarterback usually are the ones who commit pretty early to, especially at Notre Dame. Receivers, a little bit more drawn out, but like Zarek Sidney from Arizona and like a Julius Jones Jr., that would be like a two-man dream haul right there. And of course, Notre Dame would not just take two, but I'm just saying like if they could like land those two guys, and I know Notre Dame sources feel pretty good about where the Irish are at for both. Like, it could be a very exciting wide receiver group for the Irish in that 27 class to go with 26 class. And I did an article not too long ago comparing what DB recruiting looked at Notre Dame when I started covering the Irish to now, and it's just completely different. And I think the player who really changed it was Kyle Hamilton, but I think Ben Morrison that's when it really shifted for me. When Ben Morrison lit it up as a true freshman, that's when Notre Dame just went crazy with defensive back recruiting. Kyle Hamilton was obviously a special talent, first-round pick, and best safety in the NFL right now. But there's something about like when Ben Morrison started as a true freshman, Notre Dame DB recruiting took off. So is Jaden Greathouse the guy who like took off as a true freshman those last 2 games of the season to propel like Jaden Greathouse? Kyle, when we talk to these receiver recruits, he's a superstar. He really is, because he did it on the biggest stage when everyone was watching. So I think that there could be that kind of, as you said, renaissance for the Irish with receiver recruiting moving forward. I like that. So good stuff. I mean, we're talking receiver and DB recruiting on the quarterback commitment, but I think it all goes hand in hand. Do you have something you want to add?
It all ties together, man. I mean, when you get a recruiting win like this one, I think it's going to get the buzz going. I plan to talk to a lot of 27 recruits today to get their thoughts on this win. Steve Wilfong already has that story's posted on the Blue and Gold, website. So please go check that out. You mentioned Zarek Sidney and Julius Jones Jr. as 2 wide receivers Notre Dame's in good shape for. I'll also add Quentin Burrell from Chicago Mount Carmel to that list.
Yeah,
a top 100 elite wide receiver. So it's now they got to keep the momentum train rolling, man. Notre Dame fans are greedy. We know that better than anyone. And I think this commitment's going to go a long way to what the 2027 class ends up looking like.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this show. Folks, please hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to the channel for more content. If you're like, man, Mike, I want more on this news, don't end the show now. I posted like a 15-minute video with Tim Hyde. Go watch that. And then, I'll post more tomorrow. And tomorrow I'm just posting like if you missed the Jarrard live stream, I'm going to edit that up a little bit so you guys can watch the moment that Teddy committed and then the analysis that came after on the Rivals YouTube channel. And go to blueandgold.com. We have 4 stories up and more coming about this big news. So hit the thumbs up if you have not done so yet. Subscribe to the Blue and Gold YouTube channel if you haven't done that. Make sure you find Eric Hansen and Tyler James. They had their YouTube channel when they were at Inside ND Sports. They're now with Blue and Gold, but they're keeping that channel going. So make sure you subscribe there as well. Appreciate you all for tuning in. And as always, we'll catch you next time.